I think for a while there it was parallel. I don't know that we connected a lot.
Connected in what way?
Always, I think. I think in always. I think as we healed and became healthier, then we became closer and we were able to connect again.
This is the Lost Child Podcast, where we dive into the topic of losing a child. Today is a special couples edition where we have Doug and Lisa with us here, and they're going to talk about their son Joel's death and how it impacted their relationship as a couple. So first off, thanks Doug and Lisa, even though I just looked at you off, I think opposite there, did I?
Yeah.
Yeah, I said Doug and I said Lisa. That was not good.
He's a little tired.
Yeah.
I am a little tired, but thank you Doug and Lisa for coming on the podcast as a couple. Just so we can understand how a death of a child can impact a couple's relationship. I greatly appreciate that. For starters, we know that your son's name is Joel, but can you give us maybe a fun family memory that you guys have of Joel, where everyone was there, or you guys just together, or something like that?
I think with it being close to Christmas time, we had a fun Christmas tradition that we did. And you know how kids like to wake up early?
Yeah.
Doug started doing booby traps with
That's
the kids. And every year they got more elaborate.
Yeah.
And I mean, the first time it was like paper over the door
Yeah.
or plastic or something. And another time he took all the number 10 cans and stacked them up in front of their door. And they got to the point where we had a motion sensor. And if they walked past it, it made the speakers or the stereo come on. I mean, so we had elaborate fun things that we did.
Yeah.
And so Joel would take and he would sneak into the kids' room and like a week before Christmas, and they would draw these maps and they would figure out how they were going to outsmart their dad.
Oh, they're going to circumvent the booby traps.
Yeah. And so that was fun. He was always, he was the one that figured out how to get the screens off the windows so he could come around and go into the other kids' rooms. And one of the things that Doug always says, he says, I wish we would have kept those maps, but
those
they
plans,
had written.
because they were crayon, stuff like that, and they were just cool to have. See, and I'd like to have them now.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How old was he?
Well, he was probably when we started, we were at Hank's house, I think. So what, maybe, 8?
Tyler was 8.
Okay, 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
It was fun.
What about for you, Doug? What are maybe a fun family memory that you have with Joel?
Well, I don't know. We went camping a lot, and Joel was a great camper. And
was there any specific camping trip that you remember?
I'm old. No. I don't know. We used to go camping with our cousins with their cousins quite a bit, and they would go out and they'd ride motorcycles, and we'd have these shotgun contests, and we'd shoot clay pigeons, and these contests were huge, and we just have a great time and shoot guns, and those were just good times. So
awesome.
So how would you describe your relationship as a couple before Joel's death?
I think we were pretty good.
Yeah. I've always liked her.
Yeah, that's good. But in marriage, there's like and love. Sometimes you love them, but sometimes you don't always like them.
Yeah.
I had an ex-girlfriend tell me that one time. I wasn't super excited when she told me that.
Yeah.
It was also like from a movie quote, so I was kind of like,
oh,
did you
really?
get that from a movie?
Is that really a movie quote?
It is a movie quote.
Oh,
from
They're
what?
like, I'll have to look it up, but they say something like, I love you, but I just don't have to like you right now. That's the movie
Oh,
quote.
I've heard that before. I can't think of what
and
it's from.
It's eluding me right now, but I'll have to look it up and maybe like put a clip in there of it or something. But I know I definitely have seen that in a movie. Yeah.
Yeah. I've assumed we've done pretty good. We were in a pretty good place in our marriage.
There's days,
Yeah.
I think we had talked about it before, how it was a really rough time in our life. Mm-hmm. And
did that draw you closer together?
I don't feel like it parted us when we were having a rough time. Do you? When we lost our job and we got sued and
you had a flat tire.
We had.
Yeah.
I know all about the flat tire. Yeah. And she had to sit there in the truck while there was no spare tire. You had to go back and get the tire fixed. And
it wasn't so much the tires, but it was one more thing.
Yeah.
But I don't think, I mean, we didn't fight during that time. I mean, it
Yeah.
was just,
You got
things
along
were hard.
And how long had you been married at that point?
So we
Or
did-
been together?
yeah. So we
20
got,
years.
oh, was it? Yeah. So we got married in 80.
Okay.
And then Joel died in 2004.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So if my math is right, 24 years.
Right. Which is pretty easy, huh? But we got, well, I was young when we got married. And Joel, Doug's 5 years older than I am.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I kidnapped her and we eloped. So
Where did, like, you actually eloped?
We did.
Where did you elope to?
Vernal, Utah.
Wow. So just for the listeners, I realized that we've had both Lisa and Doug on, and they've explained their version of Joel's story of how he died. But just for the people that are listening currently, if they haven't listened to those yet, which you can go back and listen to those episodes, and I encourage you to do so. Can you give us just a brief synopsis of how Joel died?
Mm-hmm. Do you want to share?
no, go ahead. I'll tell my part after you tell that part.
It was, I think it was a Tuesday morning, or Thursday morning. Thursday morning. And we had gotten all of the kids, the college kids out the door and the high school kids off to seminary. And Joel was working nights and going to GCC and to school. And someone called and wanted him to come and house sit. And so I went in to go wake him up.
Yeah.
And he had died. And he died of bronchial pneumonia. He bled out through his lungs. And so I went in to shake him, and he was cold, and he had died. And I was alone, which was really awful.
Yeah, that's
That is
terrible.
awful. And I'm sorry that you had to experience that and find that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one of my regrets in life is not being there or waking him up before I left, or that she had to find him.
Did you communicate that to her pretty quickly after the death, or?
She said no. I don't remember.
Yeah.
She knows it though.
Yeah.
But I think it was a long time. I told him when I was talking to him before that I had gone to Costco's and found that ring that I liked.
Yeah.
And you were like, just buy it. I'm like, I'm not going to spend that much money on it. And you're like, just buy it. It'll make me feel better. I just feel bad that you were home when Joel was.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting the way we each deal with things differently.
Mm-hmm.
Some of that question is just more of like communication style after Joel died, and like being able to like talk about stuff. Currently within our situation, it's only been 4 months since Sonny died, and I still sometimes think that there's stuff that's like, I don't know what I can talk about or can't talk about. And I don't know. It's just, I also don't want to like overly talk about everything, right? Because I don't think that's healthy either.
Right.
But it's also healthy just to have an open communication of stuff. So that's why, do you wish that maybe, I know when you had discussed it, that you wish that he would have said that way sooner.
Yeah.
So you would have known like his thoughts and his feelings of that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because I think it was easier for him to communicate what his needs were that he needed more than to communicate how he felt about what had happened.
Mm.
And I think so.
I don't know that I understand what you mean about my needs.
Your needs, just being close to you, being intimate, that your need to be needed and be together.
And
Okay.
be loved.
Yeah.
Yeah. Versus like, this is how I'm emotionally feeling right now.
Right. Yeah.
This is what I need to help me in this moment, instead of this is what I'm thinking about what just happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see that. Did that ever shift at some point to where it became like easier to talk about feelings with each other from your point?
You're getting into personal stuff here.
That's the whole point, right? And the whole point of all of this is because like it's tough, right? And it was 20 years ago, but Joel died, and then it's tough. And it's hard on you, and then it's also hard on a marriage. And I can't remember what the stats are. I've heard people throw around the like 80% divorce rate when a child dies. I don't know how accurate that number is, but even if it's somewhere in that range, it's more than what normally is, you know. And so that's part of why we're trying to talk about this, is so then people can be like, oh, that is how I feel. Or maybe we should try to talk better with one another, right? It's always done in the avenue of how can we help others. And I realize, yes, I am getting into personal stuff.
Right.
But the whole point is to help others that might be in the exact same situation.
And you don't ever have to answer any of his questions that you
100%.
don't want to
Yeah.
answer. Just say no.
No way.
Yeah.
You know, I've always been I would get up and go to work and kind of try to maybe hide some of those feelings and cry them out while I'm out working and stuff, and listening to music and kind of deal with it my way, and hope that Lisa dealt with it her way, so that when we got home together, it wasn't about the feelings, you know. So.
Were you worried about like making her feel worse if you talked to her or something, or
No.
you just didn't want to have to deal with it?
Did I ever make you feel worse about anything I said?
No, I don't think you ever said anything, though.
Okay.
Well, and I think when one of the things that we brought up before is you brought up Jesus Christ in the Garden of Gethsemane.
Yeah.
And how he went to his friends.
Yeah.
And then he went to them seeking comfort. And it wasn't till the third time that he went back that the angel came and ministered to him. Mm-hmm. And that a lot of times when we put our faith in man, we're disappointed. And it's not that Doug didn't love me. There's love and there's trust in our relationship. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And because of that, I wanted our marriage to work.
Yeah.
But he couldn't heal me, and he couldn't fulfill those needs in me. And I think it comes to a point where I had to go to Jesus Christ and heal myself and have him heal me. And I had to become more whole. And then as we come together as a couple, we're coming together in a healthy space together.
Yeah.
And then when there's times when I would go or need something from him and not receive it, then I would fall back into the, he's not doing this, or we're not doing this. And then realizing he's doing the best he can, and I'm doing the best I can. And so what can I do to heal myself better? And then we come together as a couple again in a healthier relationship.
Mm-hmm. And she'll say, Doug, we need to do this. And I go, yes, I'll work on it. And what, is that the last time we talk about it? You know?
Yeah.
Was it ever a struggle between both of you of like how he would go to work, listen to hymns, cry his eyes out, and he like solved something his way and you were doing it a different way? Was that ever a point of contention between you guys of like,
the way you were grieving?
Yeah, the way that you were grieving, the way that you were coping with stuff, the way that you were handling stuff. Was there ever any, like, you should try what I'm doing type of thing?
I don't think I ever
think
said,
so.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so. And I think it's because then again, we're so different.
Yeah.
I would go hiking. We're just very different.
Yeah.
In that way. I don't think I ever felt that he healed better or he was doing it better than I was, and that I was doing it different than him. I don't think it ever felt that way.
I would assume, and I've heard that some people would be like Camille, you need to, I like to go hike. You need to go hike. Like, you need, right? Versus, and then also just seeing how somebody's doing something, like you could question and be like, Doug, why the heck do you go up? Like, why do you go to work every day and you're like, fine or whatever? Like, right. Just kind of that, I guess it's either one way or the other. You either give each other 100, like so much grace that you're just like, I realize you're suffering and you're going to like deal with it. Or sometimes I think the pride in us can come out and be like, you need to maybe do something different, or why are you doing that? Questioning why they're doing certain things.
I do feel like it seemed like he healed so much easier and quicker than me.
Yeah.
But maybe it was because of the way he did it when he was at work than at home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Would you say you ever looked at Lisa and like where she was at and maybe wished that she would have done something different in the way that she was grieving or how she was handling some of the things?
I don't think I ever did say, I want you to do it this way or that way. She had her way, and I knew that right off. I mean, that we were different enough because I was very open. I would talk to a lot of people about it, and I seemed to heal a lot quicker than what Lisa did. It seemed to.
I think so. Well, and I think it comes down to also, I mean, you have to bring into the dynamics of how we were raised.
Yeah.
You know, Doug was raised in a very solid family with a good mom and dad and gospel based. And I think that his foundation of happiness, I mean, he was very secure. And I learned in our marriage, it took me a while. And one of the things that were different is Doug would be like, I want to do this. I want to do this. Let's go do this. And he would be like, you know, don't you ever want more? And me, I was like, I was super comfortable where I was at. And I was like, isn't this enough for you? And because growing up, I had no control over my circumstances at all. And Doug was able to grow and dream. And so because I had no control, then I made what little space I had happy.
Oh, okay.
And so Doug always wanting more, I always thought he was unhappy. But as I realized that if I could grasp onto his dream, it helped me dream, but I could facilitate it. Like he wanted to go to college, and we sold our house so he could go back to college. He wanted to start a business. He wanted to teach our kids how to work. And so we started a pumpkin farm. And so he would come up with an idea and I'd be like, oh, okay, well, I can do that. So then I learned like he'll get the dream and then I'll help facilitate it. We built our house. You know, and we'd put everything together. He'd go work at night and I'd work during the day because we didn't play very well in the sandbox. And so I think we learned how to work with our differences because a lot of times people will say, if you can stay married while you're building a house, you can stay married during anything. Yeah. Well, that worked. Apparently, I guess we did.
I have heard a lot of people say that.
Yeah.
So I think it was just learning how to grow and love each other in our differences.
Yeah. One other thing about both of your stories that was a little bit different from like a coping standpoint, or that may have I don't know, caused something in between you guys is, Doug, you seemed like you wanted to talk to a lot of people, or people would come over. And Lisa, it seemed like you were like, I don't want to talk to anyone, don't want to be around anyone. How did you kind of go around navigating that, where you wanted to talk to a bunch of people or have people over at the house and you didn't really want that?
Yeah, well, I still have to work on that because Doug would like our whole house full of people during the holidays, and I'm just comfortable at home. And so, but I know it makes him happy. So I try to invite people and have people over and do things. And I think I probably worked more to try to be involved because that's what he liked.
Nice. And I would assume on your end that there was some amount of sacrifice too, or compromise. So what were some of the things that you did to make it so she could have what she wanted, which was not a house full of tons of people?
See, well, like some of it, I knew that right after our son died, right after Joel died, I think you even said, I can't handle your parents right now. I did. You know, she just didn't want the family inundated in the house, and then she'd have to be the hostess. And so I called my parents and I said, and my sisters, I said, guys, don't show up right now. You can show up the day before the funeral, but don't show up right now. Yeah. And I had to put my foot down, but you're making me feel selfish, you know. About
no,
because it's just how you dealt with it. It's okay.
Yeah, you know, I enjoyed people coming over and talking to me, and it was really surprising how many people had brothers or you know, members of the family that they were real close to had passed away, and it was comforting to me to have that communication with people, you know, and I was I remember when the fire department was there, I told you that story about the fire department, the police department, and everything. Well, when the fire department was leaving, they had part of their, what's it called, where they offer...
like a chaplain or something?
Well, like a chaplain, but they offer counseling and stuff like that. And he said, this guy said, I can see that I'm not needed here. I'm here to help you support your family and stuff. But and the bishop was there, and Brian Purdyman was there, and all these people that we know and love. And he goes, I can see that I can't do anything here that you don't already have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I walked him outside and said goodbye, and never thought to look to them for grieving counseling or.
Yeah.
It was interesting, Bryce. Doug's mom passed away. I don't know what year she passed away, but he was actually really excited to go to the funeral because the spirit was so strong in our home that he was looking forward to having that experience again. And when we went up to his mom and dad's house and his sisters were there and they were bickering and we left and Bryce was like, okay, that wasn't anything like our house.
Yeah.
And he definitely felt the difference between having the spirit in your home and not having the spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It meant a lot to him.
I would say that actually took a decent amount of courage on your end there, Doug, to tell your family essentially like, don't come, right? And I think that's very important in this instance. You put the needs of your wife over the needs of your immediate family, right? And sometimes I think you can be torn between those two of like, well, I still want to be like accommodating for my family and I love them and all these things, but you understood the need and you were like, no.
Yeah, and ultimately it's your guys' child that passed away.
Yeah.
And it's not...
You're the most important people at the moment.
And it's not to take away any of... Because they're going through grief too. They're going through shock. They're going through all of these things too. And the unfortunate thing is like you two were the most important people of how that got impacted was you two, right? And so putting her needs above your family's, that's very respectable and commendable.
And to be able to say, it's not about them.
Yeah.
It's about us. It's about you. And that's what's important, to be able to do that. And it's easy to think, okay, I don't want to be rude or I don't want to upset people, and to be able to step back and go, it's okay. It's okay to do that.
Yeah.
How did you deal with all your family?
I went up to our room all the time and just stayed in there by myself.
There were a decent number of people that I just said like, hey, you can't come over right now. I know there were multiple people from our church that were wanting to come, and I was like, no, like, just don't come. Which was kind of interesting. I probably would have preferred to have people come over, and I understood where she was at. But I also knew that she needed somebody, right? And like one of the people that can be there for her is me, and that's the relationship that we have. And so I would say, in a sense, I did sacrifice, like, I don't need help and I don't want to talk to people right now because I want to be there for her, right?
But we literally had like our house full of people all the way up until the funeral. So it was like an entire week of just our house loaded with people.
Yeah.
And like I didn't do anything. Like I literally did nothing to help anybody. I could care less about anyone that was there. And then if I just couldn't handle being around everybody, I would just go up to my room.
Yeah. So I don't know. I was trying to balance. That's kind of why I asked the question. I was trying to balance between like what I wanted, or if somebody, I think you guys even dropped dinner off to us, and I like chatted with you and your son. You didn't come, I think, but you made delicious food, which was awesome. So thank you for that. But I chatted with you and Bryce for, I don't know, probably 10 or 15 minutes, just in the hallway right here. You know, she was upstairs for that.
Well, no, I was here. I was downstairs.
I think you came down. Yeah.
You might have come down.
Because it was right before we were leaving on our trip.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah. Anyways, so even people that would like bring stuff over, I would chat with them if they'd want to. Other people didn't seem like they wanted to chat, which I was completely fine with. And then I'd also go, I still do. It's not like this is over for me.
No.
I'll just go and like go on walks with some people that I know. And so like if I needed to go do something, I would go and do that with people.
That's nice.
Yeah.
And I like with Christy or Marianne, who, you know, is getting up and hiking or going for a drive or just getting away from everything so that we can visit and just be the two of us.
I did feel like a sense, I don't know if you guys felt this, but like, this will come off in like a wrong way, but I felt like I was very important, and I don't mean that in like a prideful sense, but that like I had a level of authenticity, and I still do, that I was honestly like, I don't care about any of your feelings. I'm going to tell you exactly what I feel.
Good.
Right? Like there's some of that where it's like always you're just trying to be like nice and be like the people pleaser and like whatever. And at this moment with all this stuff, I was kind of like, let's cut through all the crap, and I'm just going to tell you exactly what I want and how I feel.
That's good.
And if you don't like it, that's fine. And if you do like it, that's great. You know, like, but I'm going to say like, I don't want somebody to come over my house, or I do want somebody. Like I was like very, okay, I don't really care what anyone thinks now. I'm just going to tell you what I want. Did you guys feel any of that? Like
Doug is a lot more frank than I am.
Yeah.
I would be more to go to my room than I would to say anything.
But I don't know that I ever really said a whole lot other than being more welcoming, you know. And give them just that.
Now you're making me feel selfish.
But no because his way was different than your way.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a nicer guy than you are.
I think it's really hard to articulate your needs, though, when you're in mourning. I mean, that you can articulate and say what you feel or need. It's not everyone can do that.
Yeah.
See, and you're very well spoken. I've told Lisa
I'm not very well spoken.
I tell Lisa that you are very well spoken, and I was impressed when we had lunch, and you spoke very well.
Well, there was an earpiece in his ear, and I was telling him everything to say.
It's interesting that you say that, because I myself feel like Moses, where he's like, why the heck I can't like get up here and speak in front of people. Like I legitimately, like that's me. I'm like, I can't speak very well. You've seen it. I try to do like these multi takes when I'm trying to do like an intro or something. I do not feel like I speak very well. Okay, so with both of you, we talked about the different stages of grief. So this would be more of a
cycle.
Yeah, the cycle.
It's more of a cycle. It's not a stage.
I need a graphic so that we can hold it up or we can hand it to people and they can see. So can you make us a graphic, please?
Yeah, if you
Perfect.
We gotta
now
get the
it's
printer.
On camera, and now it's got to happen.
We need to get the printer working.
Oh my gosh, this is a whole
Printers,
thing.
aren't they the worst?
They're so annoying.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so now the HP printer that we're trying to get to work only work with their stupid ink. And then if you pay for like this upgraded, it's like the worst thing in the world. I want to throw the thing.
Go get the Epsons from Sam's
that's what everyone tells me.
You can just use like cheap
a
ink.
tank. They have a bottle and you just fill it up and it lasts forever.
Oh, really?
And it doesn't stop working.
Okay, well,
they're not a sponsor, but they will be soon.
Okay.
I'm just joking. Okay, so, but my question about the grief cycle, or you know, the stages of grief or the cycles of grief, is, I guess maybe pointing to the other person. I don't even know how to phrase this question, honestly. Let me think about it, and then maybe you guys can help me. What I'm trying to ask is like, were you able to observe? See, I'm not well spoken. But I guess what I'm trying to ask is, did either of you see your partner going through some of these different stages of grief where things like depression or anger, bargaining, denial, or acceptance? Like, were you able to like witness Lisa going through some of those, or were you able to witness Doug going through some of those cycles?
I witnessed her going through some. I don't think either one of us went through real depression, but I saw Lisa hurting. Being a little depressed, you know, and knowing that there's nothing I could do. And you went to some counseling.
I didn't go to counseling, but I did do soul.
She did soul.
Okay.
Did you find out? Do they still have that?
I haven't looked it up.
I haven't looked it up either.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, that's good. And that helped a lot.
I want to point on that for just a second, because that's one thing I don't think that anyone really understands or comprehends, and this might get taken the wrong way. And anyways, the way that I kind of look at it or try to explain it to people, and let me know if this is how you felt. But when Camille was pregnant, I felt very helpless, right? She was struggling with pregnancy. Her pregnancies were awful. And I was helpless. And as a man, I was like, I want to help you. I want to do anything I can to help you. And then with the whole thing with Sunny and the accident and where I'm at currently, it's like the same thing. I can see the amount of hurt and stuff. And you touched on it. Like you just couldn't do anything. And it was like, rips me apart. Because as a protector, as a husband, as a father, like you want to be there. You want to provide. You want to help. And in that one situation, you can't do anything. Yeah. Did you feel helpless in that same sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I don't know what it took, and then I remember we were in Hawaii at a seminar and she said, I was out on the balcony and it's like she was touched.
It was a spiritual experience. Yeah. I did. I shared it in the last podcast.
Okay. And it was like, and I don't know that I could say, I can see this magnanimous difference in her, but you could just see the smile on her face and
that was the start of the journey.
Yeah.
You weren't just magically better.
Right.
No, it's so good now.
But kind of back to like the root of the question though, and is because it's like dealing with like a man's thing within the relationship. How did you deal with that helplessness of not being able to help her?
I probably didn't deal with it. I didn't do anything.
Okay. Which is fine, like, right? That's like one of the things you did. I'd love to say I took
her roses and flowers and candy, but I didn't.
And I don't know if that would have helped anything, though, too. It's more of not necessarily you trying to solve her, but what it's more the question is, like, what did you do about the helplessness, like, that potentially was, like, eating at you or, like, right? If you were to tell me, like, Blake, like, maybe I don't even know. It's just if someone was in that same spot of what would potentially help them. I realize you didn't maybe necessarily do anything, but it's just because that's not a very good spot to be in either, as coming from a guy's perspective of just feeling helpless, wanting to help and not being able to do anything. And that's kind of tough.
But don't you find, Camille, that a lot of times in a relationship when you're sharing things with your husband, you don't want him to solve your problem. You just want him to listen to you.
Yeah.
And when they try to solve it, you're like, no, I don't want you to solve it. I just want you to listen for a minute.
Okay, but would you be offended if, for instance, Doug was like, okay, is this a problem-solving conversation or is this a just listening conversation?
Yes.
Because, see, and that's where I would be like way more upfront with that and be like, is this a listening conversation or a problem-solving conversation? And based off of that knowledge, I would then be like, follow suit, like, okay, this is a listening conversation. But even bringing up that one question, I feel like she potentially would get offended by me even bringing that question up because I want a clarification. I want to understand what you want from me so then I can give you what you want. Right?
But even though you think you can give us what we want, honestly, it still has to come from us. I mean, as much as I wanted Doug to do something for me, I don't think anything he could have done would have. And I understand that he wanted to help me and wanted to fix things, but it still wouldn't have done it with us.
But the thing for me, like it would have been a lot nicer if, right? And still it would be nicer, even just in general relationship, just every day or whatever, right? Is I don't want you to solve this problem. I just want you to listen to me. Well, if that's what you really want, like I want to give that to you and I want to just listen to you and show you that I'm attentive and I'm not going to try to solve the problem. But instead, it's like I go into problem-solving mode because there are times where you do have problems that you do want solved. Right? And so then I'm like, well, I'm trying to solve this problem for you instead of just listening. And so it'd be, honestly, from a guy's perspective, way nicer if you could just be like, this is a listening thing. Sweet. I can just listen then, and I can be a really good listener. Right?
And she usually tells me that after... right when I start giving her all these great suggestions, great suggestions.
Great suggestion,
right? But Camille did tell you on Sunday. She did say, "I'm done. I need to be out of here. I'm having a hard time." And you did. You gathered her and you left.
Yeah. But even on like a conversation thing, it's not like she's ever like, Blake, this is like a listening thing. I need you to just like listen to me while we talk for 30 minutes, right? There's times where she's probably annoyed that I'm trying to solve problems when we're in a conversation, when she does just want me to listen. And that's why it's just like, it would be nice to just know this is a listening one versus a problem solving one.
Don't you know that women are complicated?
But then even to your point, which has been said to me before, is I just want you to know, or I just want you to recognize, right? And so it's not even the fact that I didn't listen or that I am problem solving. It's that I missed the cue to just listen, right? I wasn't like in line enough, or I wasn't in tune enough with like us, our conversation, or whatever it is. And so I think that's also a big point, which is why you're like, yeah, I might be offended if he asked, like, is this a listening one or a problem-solving one, right? Yeah. Because you want him to be in tune enough to know this is a listening one. I just need to listen to her. Right?
He's my husband. We've been married a long time. He should know me, right? Yeah. He should know what I think.
Yeah. It's not that simple. Nope. We still don't know.
We know now.
We're simple creatures here. Man, okay.
So how do you feel like Joel's passing has affected your relationship? Do you feel like it's affected it in any way? Because you said it was like pretty good before.
Yeah. Right? I think for a while there it was parallel. I think our relationship was parallel. I don't know that we connected a lot. But then...
Connected in what way?
Always, I think. I think in always.
Like you just kept like, our life has to keep going, so we're just going to keep going.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep working.
Didn't
I'm
really
keep
communicate
taking care of the kids.
Yep.
I'm just going to like, we're just going to take one step at a time and just keep moving.
Yeah.
How long do you feel like that lasted for?
I don't know, probably a couple, probably a year or so, or not longer. I think as we healed and became healthier, then we became closer and we were able to connect again.
Did you guys still try to do like dates even within that first year? Like, were you still trying to like, from like an emotion standpoint, like try to do those things?
Yes, we did. Yeah.
Okay,
we kept dating.
But I think, again, you're going through the motions, not with emotions. But as you become, as you do heal, then your actions become more emotional. And you're not just going through the emotions. You do want to go out. You do want to be with them and be together.
Yeah. And sometimes I think there is comfort in that routine.
Absolutely.
Right? The routine of like, go to work, help with the kids, or do those things that you kind of did before, and there was a routine, and it's nice. There's comfort in that routine of like, yeah, we can do date night, even if it's not like both of us are like super into it, but it's a routine that you're able to kind of cling on and get some comfort from in the just horrible situation that you're in.
Yep.
And with our house, those date nights were still pretty important, so that we could even just get alone by ourselves and talk.
Yeah.
Because there was always people at our house. I mean, our kids' friends were always at our house. Our house has always been a gathering point, and so they have always had lots of friends over there, and so it was something that we had to just do, to keep doing it and we still do our date night. So.
Yeah.
That's good.
What's one of your favorite date nights to do? Like, what activities to do on date night?
We're pretty boring. Dinner and a movie, or
like go out to the movies, or like just go home and watch a movie. We used to
do that before COVID. Can't say that word. You can before the flu night, before the flu pandemic hit us.
Just pretty much just go out to dinner, or there's just not a lot of movies anymore.
I know.
There's not.
I know.
It's really hard to find good ones.
Yeah. And still just go out to dinner.
Yeah. Maybe take a drive.
Yeah. One of our traditions is, and of course we live in Arizona and it's a drought, but if it rains, Doug doesn't work. And so we always go out to breakfast.
Oh, nice.
And, but it's been far and few between for breakfast.
It rained last time,
and I haven't.
I know it did rain
last
a
night.
little
Did you
bit
go to
last
breakfast?
night. We didn't because it wasn't raining. I still
You
hiked, and he still worked.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we have chickens that are giving us 12 eggs a day, and I feel guilty going out to breakfast. So,
You guys need eggs?
We might need some eggs.
yeah, we have lots of eggs.
We have some boys that could go over and learn how to do some chicken duties.
There you
Better
go.
Come over.
Yeah, they like eggs.
We have a beautiful garden. It's really kind of cool back there. So
I don't even know where you guys live, honestly.
Okay, well, good. You get to come over
we
for
don't.
dinner.
Who do you live by?
We kind of live by ourselves. I
Like,
mean,
in,
we have
like,
an
your
acre
area?
lot.
Oh,
But when we moved, we bought the land out there, and there was nothing out there. We brought the power and the road and everything, and there wasn't any cities, or it was just us out there. And we built our house ourselves, so it took us like 18 months. And then slowly different people have built out there, but we still have an acre, which is really nice.
So since Joel's passing, have you seen any shift in your guys' communication style with one another?
the older we get, I think we become better. We work together every day. So there's some things that we can communicate real well on. She says I don't play very well in the sandbox, and maybe I don't.
At least you can recognize it, right?
I don't recognize it. She tells me I
You just
don't.
recognize that she recognizes it. I get it. Did you see any shift in like your communication style from pre Joel's death to post Joel's death?
I don't know. It's funny because I think that as times shift, I mean, not times, but society, how people interact in relationships, and how our grandparents interacted and us. And I don't know, you just live each day and try to do the best you can. I don't know that we always analyze and discuss things of how we're supposed to act. We just try.
Yeah.
How do you guys normally communicate with each other?
We talk in the morning. We talk on the phone. Doug's a terrible texter, but I text all the time to everybody, so he doesn't text. I call him when he's out working, or he'll call me and make sure I made it off the mountain if he left, and that I'm home okay, and call me on his way home from a job. And then at home we'll visit at night before we go to bed.
Nice.
That's what normal people do, I think.
I don't feel like that is, I mean, we talk and stuff, but I don't feel like that is with a lot of other people. They don't know how to communicate with each other.
They just don't talk to each other.
Yeah.
Or they just, which this isn't just, I guess this is generalizations with no data. So but people that don't communicate well, they end up just like blowing up at one another, right?
Yeah.
And so then finally they're like, I'm going to just communicate. And it's like, becomes a big fight. Not that, I assume you guys still get in fights because you're two different people that have two different belief systems and maybe want, this thing versus that thing, right? Because we're two people. We've been raised two different ways, and we still get in arguments about how things should be done, especially when it's involving our entire family. But yeah, I just think if people don't communicate, then it ends up in like a big just yelling battle versus being able to be like, hey, like, let's sit down and do this. Like one thing I saw lately that I thought was really good is usually if you have a problem with maybe something that Camille does to me, if it's like right in front of the kids or in something, that's not like the place to like talk about that, right?
Right.
You're not like, don't ever do that in front of me with all these like,
Yeah.
and one, that person is currently already in like a heightened state of like just emotion. So then one more thing on top of that to be like, don't treat me that way isn't very good, versus being able to like go on a date or just have food in your belly anyways and like be talking about it, be like, by the way, like just this last week, like you did this one thing, right? And in that example, when we're out at dinner, she would be in a completely different state of emotion and like mental capacity than like right in the middle of the thing that happened that's like annoying me.
Right.
And that's vice versa, right?
Right.
And so just stuff like that I think is kind of important.
And I think being able to say, I felt this way when this was happening.
Yeah.
And so I'm not attacking Doug and saying, you made me feel this way because I chose to feel that way.
True.
Yeah.
And to be able to say, when you did this is how I felt.
Yeah.
To give him an opportunity to go, oh, I didn't realize that's how you made me feel. And I think too, another thing is realizing that we had one of our YSAs and we visit and we were talking and she's like, so you and Brother Nelson are so different. He doesn't hike with you. He doesn't like the food you like. He doesn't do this. And I said, Janessa, I love Doug. He's always treated me with respect. He's a great husband and a good friend. And I said, but he doesn't make me happy. I know that he can't make me happy.
Your happiness isn't tied to him.
Exactly. And I said, I like to hike and Doug doesn't mind that I go hiking and he likes to go fishing. I'm not a fisherman. And I said, so we're able to go do those things separately and nurture a part of us that isn't together. But then when we come together, we have these experiences that we can share with each other that helps build our relationship. And not that we would always go on a separate something because we do things together as well. But I'm able to build that side of me and then be even more positive when I come to him and be like, oh, I saw this when I was hiking, or I talked to this person, or we discussed this gospel topic. And then I'm able to bring that into our relationship and be able to share with him. And then he's the same way when he goes and does things.
That's good. That's a good point. Yeah. Because I think sometimes people always think, not always, but they think within a relationship, you almost have to be like the same person.
Oh, yeah.
And that's like a boring relationship.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. There are a lot of things that I enjoy doing with Camille, right? And so like hiking or something like that would be something that's like, I enjoy doing this. Or other like boating. I really like boating. So like that stuff is enjoyable to me, especially like when she's with me.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But it's funny because Doug's like, what do you want for your birthday? Because I don't want stuff. And I said, all I want for my birthday, do you remember?
Nope.
I wanted to go kayaking with him on my birthday. We have kayaks. I said, I just want to go kayaking. Let's make a picnic lunch and go kayaking. We never made it.
When's her birthday?
It's in November 3rd.
That's my dad's birthday.
It is?
It is my dad's birthday.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Our life.
You could go a month late. It's December 1st right now. You could go on December 3rd and go kayaking.
That would work. Our life is so crazy sometimes. We plan a trip to the temple or we'll do something like that and it just gets filled up, And
I know we were going to go to the temple Friday at 4:30 and my house was full of people. Like my grandkids come in and my kids come in and then a neighbor comes over and I was like, well, missed that one.
Yeah.
In terms of emotional needs, how do you feel, or how have you been able to fulfill each other's emotional needs during the loss of Joel? Or do you feel like your emotional needs were met during that time?
Mine were always met by Lisa.
In what ways?
I mean, intimately or, I think she knew when to come up and scratch my head or just touch me, put her hand on my back or something like that. And she was always very observant of my needs.
Intimacy is pretty important, I think, to men overall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think because that's the only place, a man can come to his wife and feel fulfilled. Yeah. And I think for us, for women, sometimes it's one more thing we have to do, which is, sorry. So knowing that it was important, and this might sound really terrible, but I made sure Tuesdays and Thursdays, it was on my calendar that we were intimate together. I know. because it was easy to withdraw and become very isolated for me. It's very, like I said, I was told I had a hard heart, and it's really easy for me to get hard.
Yeah.
And to rebuff all of the hard things that I'm going through. And so to be open and intimate is, I had to relax and think of someone else's needs besides my own, which made him happy, which created a good relationship with us. And then he was more available to me because his needs were being met too.
One of the books that I read actually specifically was like, hey, no one really talks about this, but from like a male perspective, when a child dies, a lot of times you have like 2 deaths that happen, in the sense that you have the child die and then your relationship, a lot of times the wife essentially is like what you said is, I'm going to recede and I'm not really going to give you any intimacy or any of that. And so this one person that you could confide in and like be with, and that was like one thing that you loved and needed and how you felt loved, essentially was like taken from you also.
Yeah.
And no one ever really talks about that and how important that is within a relationship, within a marriage relationship. And so that's actually super commendable that, one, you saw that as a need, and you did what you thought. In a sense, you put his needs before yours for a little bit, right? It wasn't every single day. You didn't put your needs before him every single day or whatever, right? But it was, of how important that is.
And I still think there's that feeling that everybody gets, is if I ask or start to, touch or something like that, am I just a selfish, dirty old man, And you're gonna, is it too early? Do I need to be this celibacy for so long, or something? And how do we get off on this here? But
your wife took you here.
But you feel guilty a little bit.
But it's important.
I did. I felt a little bit guilty.
It is important.
Yeah.
And I was honestly, even when I came up with this idea of a podcast and having couples on here, I was like, I don't know if this is like a place that we should go. I'm fine going there. But I know that not everybody's fine going there and talking about this. But I do think it's a huge important thing, right? So the question of like, how did we get here? Well, because it's important.
It is important.
And it's part of your relationship. And it was part of your relationship before Joel. Right. And it shifted it somehow after Joel. And so like, how did that play out? And it is important for you. And I realize what you're saying is, you might think that, you are like this dirty old man, as you put it, of like, but that's like also a pull that's already in you. Biologically, it's there. Spiritually, it's there. In the marriage relationship where it's actually supposed to be used, So keep going on kind of like what you thought about that.
There was this time that I felt like, is it too early? Is it too soon after his death? Is it, is there a waiting period before you intimately kiss or even kiss? What are the guidelines on that? I know there's got to be a book someplace that says don't kiss and don't touch for so many days.
Yeah, I think the guideline says throw all of that out because it doesn't really matter.
Every stinking book you
and
have.
every relationship is different too. Like what worked for you guys would totally not work for us, and like didn't happen with us, right? It's a completely different thing. So it's comforting to know like that's how you guys dealt with the intimacy part of the relationship.
Now, did I meet her goals or meet her needs? I don't know. Probably not.
I don't know.
No, I meant not just those needs, but I meant
what needs are we talking about?
I'm hoping you're cutting
what
this.
What needs are we talking about?
I'm hoping you're there's a whole bunch of...
Nope, it's just going to be
I'm hoping there's a whole bunch of tape the whole
time.
Zoomed in. And it's going to have her like at different places in the podcast where she's like eyes open or like dazed over or like, yep, you didn't satisfy me.
No, I didn't mean that at all.
Is that what you said?
No.
You didn't satisfy me?
I didn't meet her needs.
Her emotional needs.
Her emotional needs as far as a...
But when it comes down to it, he really can't. I mean, he going out on dates or coming up and put his arms around me, talking to me, those things, connecting with him. But it comes down to my emotional needs are something that I have to work on myself.
What were some of the emotional needs that you needed during that time frame, though?
I don't know. You're just so broken and you're so numb. It's hard to even know what you need.
It is hard to even know what you need.
And I think
I think people ask you, like, what do you need?
Right.
And
I
you're
know.
like, I don't even know what the heck I need.
I know.
I don't even know how to answer that question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do you need, Camille?
My house to be clean. It satisfies my OCD.
Yeah. That's true, though.
And
It
then I
does.
can go on and do whatever I need to do.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, it's, when it's back to you, you're going, I don't know what I need. At least you know what you need, Camille.
Well, somewhat.
Yeah.
To a degree.
So I'm supposed to clean the house? Is that where?
That's what she
where we're
said.
off of?
I
That's
just
what
don't
she
go
said.
in his
Oh my
office.
God.
Yeah.
I can't go in there because it's just a mess. I'm like, avoid area.
Yeah, but it also doesn't help that everyone just shoves crap into my office and then it makes it even worse. I realize it's messy, but then it's just like this. It's essentially just like a crap hole that everyone goes and shoves stuff at. Like, oh, I don't know what to do with this. I'm just going to shove it in Blake's office. And then it adds to the crappiness, which doesn't help me to try to clean it because then it's everyone else's crap that's in there.
All of my kids, though, have adopted his messiness. I'm like, how have they not gotten any cleanness
Right?
from me? How is this
know.
not possible?
I don't know why my kids pick up my bad habits, not my good ones.
No, if you would have made that statement correct, the way that she made it is, why do all of your kids pick up Doug's bad habits? That's okay. Okay. Well, now we're here. I don't even know where we're going at now.
And I think most of the boys have picked up my bad habits.
But as for when it comes down to my needs, it is my needs. And it's me figuring out, is it getting up and going for a walk? Is it taking times and reading my scriptures? Is it getting closer to my Savior? He's the one that fills my needs. And as I become whole, then I'm able to connect more with Doug. And that strengthens our relationship.
I still think there has to be some amount of needs that like Doug could give you or needs to give you too, right? Similar to like there's
you shouldn't
needs,
be the only one giving.
Yeah, there's needs
Right.
needs that he has, right? That he can't just like create for himself.
Right.
I realize there are some of those like getting up and working and like that's like an emotional need of like I feel like satisfied with what I'm doing and I feel like I'm contributing, right? And similar to like hiking for you is something that's like I feel accomplished because I did this thing that I said I was going to do and like I was able to exercise and the endorphins, right? So are those things that you can handle yourself.
Right.
But then there has to be some amount of some type of emotional needs that you get from
Well, I think
from him.
I think one of a routine that we've kind of fell into that is nice is that he most of the time cooks me breakfast, and then I cook dinner.
Yeah.
And so I feel like he's serving me by making me breakfast.
Yeah.
And that's just a nice thing that he does.
Holistically, would you say that your relationship has gotten better since Joel's death?
I think so.
Every
Just
every
as
year,
time goes
every
on.
day.
And do you think it's more of a time thing, or did the fact that Joel died have anything to do with that strengthening of your relationship?
I think there's probably some things that spiritual wise that is because of Joel's death that has strengthened our relationship. A lot of it's time. We still like each other. I brought
That's
that
good.
up before, and we like being with each other. We, like I said, we work together. We travel together. We love getting in the car. I love getting in the car and let her drive, and away we go.
He doesn't drive. And that saved our marriage.
Wow. That's good.
He's kind of a gawker stopper. But no, it's good. And I do think that,
What?
I think that's just a male thing.
is that what it is?
There's a lot of interesting things that are out when you're driving, and it's nice to look at those
Thank you,
things.
Blake. Thank
There
you.
you go.
Right? You can observe a sign and you can be like, wow, look how well made that sign was. And how's it actually hanging out of that building? Oh, it's cantilevered like this.
Oh, by the
And
way, I
there's
forgot
weight
I was
here.
driving.
Okay. Or like, hey, look at that beautiful bridge. Like there's lots of beautiful things out in the world that are nice to observe and you can observe them while you're driving.
So go ahead and let your wife drive from now on. And I do, and she's a great driver, and I get to see all the things that I want to look at. So
I do think that in realizing that we are an eternal family and that we will get to see Joel again and be together is a comfort, and it gives you a reason to continue trying in your relationship because I want to be with him, and I want to see Joel, and I want our family to be together. And so it's worth the effort and the trying and the keep trying.
yeah. The Sunday dinners with the whole family and just all those things just keep building on our relationship. And
Yeah. Because I know sometimes where you really feel like being alone, there will be a coming time when you just want everyone with you, gathered around you, and have your family together. And then the added bonus daughter-in-laws that you get, and the little grandbabies, and all those.
And that's just a blink of an eye away, guys.
Yeah.
Just a blink. I know it seems like a ways, but
Doesn't seem like it right now.
No.
It did before, like pre-Sonny's accident. Things were just moving so quickly, and it was like, how do we have a 6-year-old, and we're almost going to have a 10-year-old, and our youngest is going to be 4, and then everything happened with Sonny, and it has been a lot. Like it's gone quick since the actual accident, but it's still
Too slow.
I don't know. It's just, it's too slow. Like we've talked to you and we've talked to Christy, and it's like, this thing happened like 20 years ago, 16 years ago. I can't even fathom that in my head right now of living 16 years without Sonny.
Yeah.
Right? Living 20 years without Sonny. Like I can't make that connection in my head of what it actually looks like.
Yeah. Especially with the holidays. It's hard.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It is hard. I just remember one year Doug taking stuff out of the Christmas box and hanging it on the tree and just crying each time he put Joel's.
He talked about that when he was here last week.
And those are hard times.
But still good.
But tender.
But tender. They're tender times.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even when we're talking with somebody else, it's not like, because this makes me cry, like I'm not going to do it ever again. Like it's
just special.
It's special. And
It's okay to cry.
it's okay to cry.
It's healthy.
Okay. Yeah, it is.
And it's okay to remember him.
Yep.
Right? Because the other option is just to be like, well, I'm just going to like shove it under a rug and pretend like it's never there. And that's not healthy at all, right? And some people might be like, well, why, like, you shouldn't be crying all the time. Well, it's also pretty sad.
I can cry as much as I want.
You can cry. Like, and it's not that you're proving your love to anyone else by crying.
No.
Right. But what I will say is that the grief you have is because of the amount of love that you had for Joel, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you'd never cry to prove to somebody that like you loved Joel, but for yourself, like you realize that there's sadness there, and there's also probably happiness and joy that's also experienced within those tears sometimes too, because you remember the good times, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, when you do have a good day, is not feeling guilty because you had a good day.
That's true. It's easy to feel guilty
It is.
of like, I laughed again.
Yep.
I felt happiness and joy again.
And that's okay.
Yeah, it is okay.
But it's interesting how you'll be like, oh, is this okay? And it is okay. The laughter is just as okay as the tears are.
I think sometimes though, Satan always looks for opportunities to somehow tear you down.
Absolutely.
And even in that joyous time where you had some happiness with your other kids or did something, he's easy to be like, you shouldn't be happy right now.
Yeah.
Your daughter died. Like, what the heck?
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. He uses every opportunity to find that chink in your armor.
Yeah.
And he's awful. And he's good.
He's really good. He's
But
very
Lord's better.
practiced.
Yeah, he's been around for a while.
Yeah.
Since I know a little bit about both of your stories and we talked about coping strategies, but was there any coping strategies that you guys developed or adopted as a couple to kind of help you go through any of this loss with Joel?
I don't.
Going to I think we
that's true.
going to the temple on probably a little bit more of a regular basis, you know.
We had a goal of once a month. We always went to the temple once a month, but I think it became more important and we tried to go more often.
Right.
How did that help you?
More of I think as President Nelson says, have a celestial view.
Yeah.
I think it was more of a celestial view to realize that there really is something that we're working towards.
Yeah.
There's more than just this life.
Yeah.
Right.
But it doesn't feel like that right now where you guys are at.
Yeah.
Yes and no. There's
Yeah.
definitely days that it's like, yeah. And then there's other days, like, quite frankly, that's like, is all of this actually true?
Right.
Or is it all just like fake? Because for me, it's like, yeah, I've been taught all these things, believe within scripture and stuff like that, right? But then, and it's always like, yeah, if you're faced with a hard time, like you have faith in Christ and all these things, and you hear all these things, but then having a death of a child shoves it in your face of like, is the gospel real or is it not real?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think your testimony got stronger.
Mm-hmm.
I think you grew more spiritually. And probably because he was faced with it and had to decide what he believed and how he believed.
Well, there was just so many times that I'd grab the scriptures and start reading them, going like, wow, you know, this is the plan of salvation right here in the scriptures, you know, right here. You know, I'm just going, how did the Lord know that I need that when I open this up right here, you know?
Did you guys ever do any couples therapies together or like go to any support groups together?
We didn't.
Mm-mm.
He's a farm boy.
What was the thing you guys were at in Hawaii? Because you talked about that as like a conference or convention, but was that like
For
a
work.
pest control thing
It was
or
a work.
something?
It was a
deal.
work one. But no, we didn't ever do any in a couples therapy.
Maybe like a super personal question. I understand if you don't want to ever answer it. But have you guys in your entire like marriage ever done any marriage counseling at all?
I've advised her many times, but no.
I can leave that one out, but I'm going to leave the other stuff in.
Yeah, that one's going
You're
out.
not satisfying her.
No, we haven't ever gone to marriage counseling. It can be sex or finances that really rock a marriage.
Communication, sex, and money.
Yeah.
Those are the three big things.
Big things. And when we were first married, they asked us to go take a class from an extension office on finances. And we went through and took these classes and then had to teach them in our ward. And it was really a great experience because we were on different pages, like financially, I think we're different raised. And it just helped us to realize about debt and different things like that, which was a really good thing for our marriage too, as well.
It is nice to be on the same page from a financial standpoint, especially like thinking of your guys' situation of you had just lost a job or walked away from your job, started a new business, being sued, having like some of these pretty bad things happening to you, like one more thing, right? Having to go get the tire. I think there was one other thing that
we
was
had to
like
tow
going
my
wrong.
car home.
Tow your car home. Yeah, there was another thing, right? So with all of those things, and then on top of that, you have the loss of a child. Financially, sometimes that could put you in a really bad spot
Oh, yeah.
because there's a lot of unforeseen costs that happen with a funeral and a burial and other things, right?
Yeah.
And it's something I honestly didn't even think of, but how did that help you get through it, that you were actually like on the same page from a financial standpoint?
I think it was great because we were in debt and because we've had a goal to stay out of debt.
Yeah.
We've been able to weather storms, that storm, and then other storms like 2008 and 10 during that crisis because we ran our business without being in debt. We were able to weather that storm, and that's just one less thing in our marriage that would cause stress is being out of debt.
That's nice, yeah, because stress would equate to more contention and other things, so that's nice. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. There are lots of different, like a death again could cause almost like catastrophic stuff from a financial standpoint if you're in the wrong spot.
And I think that if either one of us would have given up at any time and said, just forget about it, or if you would have just, either one of us would have said, I don't want to deal with this anymore, because there was just so much going on at that point. If any one of us would have said, I can't deal with this anymore, and just even become reclusive or whatever it was, it would have just financially destroyed you, emotionally, just all those steps there. It would have just wiped us out.
Yeah.
But you just get up and keep going, and
one other thing that I would ask is, because of Joel's death, did it adjust or shift how you guys parented
Yes.
your other kids? Yeah. In what ways?
I think being more tolerant of their learning curve of things that they're going through, and realizing that they're learning at their own pace, and that their choices didn't really reflect on me as a parent. That honestly, because I'm kind of a little bit of a control freak, and I had zero control with Joel passing away. Nothing. No matter, because I thought, I'm going to do this, this, and this with my kids. This is how my family's going to be. Well, that doesn't work. It really doesn't work. And so I really turned more over to the Lord, and I thought, I'm doing the best I can, and they will do the best they can at the stages that they're at. And so I think much more tolerant of their past, I think. More Christ-like. And you?
How did your parenting style adjust after Joel died?
I think I didn't want to miss as much as what I had missed with Joel. We were always busy working, and I didn't want to miss as much.
Like sports games and stuff like that? Or like what type of things did you not want to miss?
Just like making sure that I took the boys camping, making sure that I grabbed the boys and we went to Alaska, and just making sure that we spend a lot more quality time together, saying I love you.
Yeah. Your priorities changed a bit.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. When we first got married, Doug was always late. And it would just drive me crazy. And we went to go visit his mom. We had 2 kids. Went to go visit his mom and dad. And we were waiting for his dad to come home from work. And he was late. He was super late. So it was like 9:30, and my kids were hungry, and George hadn't come home late, his dad. And I was like, oh no, we're not going to go down this path. So when we came home, I got to the point I was like, okay, we're going to leave at 6. If you're not here, then we're going to go. And so I started leaving him. And one time I went camping with Adam, and he was at work, and then he was like, well, I don't want to miss out on these things. And so he just got better and better at being on time, and was there when we went camping, and there when we did things. And I think after Joel died, he even more engaged with the kids. And I do think the saying I love you and giving him a hug and is much more intentional. And I think it's even come more too with grandchildren. He's very much more engaged with the grandkids because he realizes that he missed that time with his own kids, and so he's trying to be a better grandpa. That's
probably one regret that I have, is the number of times that Sunny came into my office and I'm in the middle of work and I'm like, she like wanted to do something with me, go outside and like jump on the trampoline or whatever. And I would be like, no, like I'm working right now. Like, hey, just let me work. Like you've been in here 3 times in the last like 15 minutes. Like I'm really in the process of trying to get this thing done. And in the grand scheme of things, how important was that one thing that I can't even remember what it was that I was trying to get done. But I didn't get to have one more time on the trampoline with Sunny, or one more time watching her do handstands in the backyard, right? I don't have that. It's hard for me though, because there is a balance there, right? Because the other side of it is like, okay, I'm just not going to do any work or anything that's going to like bring income into our household so that it continues to function, and I'll just be with my kids all the time. That's not healthy either, right? And so trying to understand that balance and where that need is. But I would say that that's one place I've shifted a little bit, and that I've seen as I was like, I wish I could have one more day, with Sunny, one more time, one more experience.
Yeah, you'd give anything to have that one more experience.
Yep.
That's our life. 2020 in reverse, you know, or 2020
Hindsight.
Hindsight,
2020,
yeah.
20. Yeah. That's what you're going for.
Yeah. But then when you look back, honestly, I mean, at that stage where we were doing the best we could
Yeah.
with what we knew
Yeah.
Yeah.
at that time.
Yeah.
I don't know how to like bring this up, but it's all what we're talking about right now. There was a lady that had said something to the effect that she thought we had two boys. She has knows nothing about us, and she said something to the effect that like, so she had like a teenage girl and like another daughter, and was like, just be thankful you don't ever have to like go through having a teenage girl or whatever. You just have boys. And I was kind of like, honestly, well, I didn't say this, but like in my mind, I'm like, you know nothing about me. You know how much I would give to have that teenage girl?
Yeah.
I don't get mine.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's some of those that like a parent that says that comment or even has that thought. And I want to be like, I wish that I could just share with you my knowledge of my experience. So maybe it could shift your lens a little bit. I don't want you to have to go through the same thing as I do to shift your parenting lens. What I do hope is you could learn from me and know that I don't have a teenage daughter. I won't have a teenage daughter, right? That got taken from me. But I hope that you could use me as an example to then change or shift that lens or parenting style so you can appreciate more, tell them you love them more, give them hugs, be more gracious, be more understanding of their timetable that they're learning on. So learn from us so you don't have to experience what we experienced to have that shift.
I met a lady, and I don't remember where I met her, and she was so bitter. She was so bitter and so angry and so sharp with her children and her husband after the death of her child. And I know she was grieving in her own way.
Yeah.
But I realized I didn't want to be that way. I didn't want to be angry. I didn't want to be mad at Doug or mad at my kids. I wanted to be able to grow past that. So it was worth trying and healing and therapy and whatever we needed to get to move beyond that so that I wouldn't be bitter. And it's a sad, dark place to be.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm saddened. A lot of times you hear on the news, you know, where it's 20 years later, 12 years later, and someone's prosecuting or a murderer is finally getting death row or whatever it might be, and they say we finally have justice. And I feel sorry for those parents that they haven't forgiven and been able to enjoy life, that they're still trying to prosecute the offender years and years and years and have never accepted God's grace and said, I'll take care of them. I'll take care of them.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting because we had a couple attorneys reach out to us after Joel died, and an attorney friend, because Joel had gone to the hospital twice and they sent him home. And I'm sure there was malpractice there for him to die at home. And I thought, oh, you know, we could sue, but my thought was if I sue them, it's going to drag out for how long? And then getting money, what is that going to solve for me?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't an avenue that I wanted to go down at all. And not that that's not an option for somebody, or if there's something that justice needs to be made.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a path that I wanted to go on because I didn't want it to drag on, and it wasn't going to change the circumstances of what happened with him. And then another kind of cool experience is I was sitting in the office and I was thinking about one of Joel's friends, and I don't even know what his name was, but I just got this thought that his phone number was in Joel's phone. And I was like, I don't even think his phone has a charge in it. And I opened it up and looked up this number, and I just felt like I needed to call this boy. And I'm like, this is really weird. But okay, so I dialed the number and this boy says hello. And I said, hi, this is Lisa, Joel's mom. And it was like dead silence. And he's like, well, why are you calling me? I said, because Joel wanted me to call. And he's like, today's my birthday.
Wow.
And I was like, well, Joel wanted to tell you happy birthday. And it was just a really cool connection, not realizing that I'm sure Joel was prompting me to do this, but it was so sweet for me to be an instrument in his hands and then to lighten his friend's, birthday, which was really sweet.
Yeah, that's cool.
Joel was mindful, just very kind and mindful about that. He was very mindful about that kind of stuff. He was a sweet kid. He was a good kid.
Very sweetheart.
How has the loss of Joel kind of influenced your outlook on the future as a couple?
I think back to thinking celestial and realizing that if it's a hard day or if we're having a hard time, that our ultimate goal is to still be together in eternity and keep trying, keep loving.
Yeah. I always say that the biggest fight I ever had with my wife was the ones that she didn't know about. It's just stuff that goes on in your brain, and you create this conversation or this, you're mad and then you blow up a little bit and you say something she didn't even know that's what, or never was about that, and I've had these fights in my mind with her over the, things that she never even knew about, and I just think that I'm stopping right there.
That's pretty good.
I think what I'm grateful for is that through the ups and the downs and the hearts and the easies, that we still love each other, that we've made it through really hard times and we're okay.
And love includes forgiveness, change, repentance, grace, right? Mm-hmm. Love isn't always being the perfect partner in the sense of I'm perfect, you're not, or vice versa. You know what I mean? But it's understanding that we are human. We do have faults. We do say words that maybe we shouldn't say sometimes, or that we don't even truly mean. But in that moment, we're just like fed up with whatever it is, right? So kind of to go along those same lines is it's 19 years, I think, right? Almost 19 years. Is even within this last year, are there still bad days for you guys? Or hard days?
I don't know that there's hard days regarding the death of Joel.
Okay. You don't still get waves of grief?
I do.
You do?
Yeah, I do. And I don't know sometimes it's just a trigger, and sometimes you don't recognize it. Like you'll be sad or on edge and you'll think, okay, so what's bothering me? Yeah. And maybe it's a tradition, or maybe it's somebody else's child doing something, or and then I recognize it and I feel sad and acknowledge it and then move forward. And it gets easier to do that and farther apart, but you do still have those days.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I still think that's important to know, right? It's been 19 years and there still are, for you said not so much, for you that there is, and that's completely normal. Yeah. And so people that are in the same time category, if you will, it's fine if there's still stuff that come up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's fine if you still think about Joel, and it's fine if you are still sad sometimes, right? It's completely natural and normal to have those things.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for coming and talking to us. I hope it was a pleasant experience. We just can't thank you enough. Honestly, you didn't really know us at all, but being able to come and share some pretty intimate and special things in your life and difficult things in your life. So we appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, thank you to Doug and Lisa for coming and sharing their story on this podcast, this special couples edition of the podcast. If you like this podcast, please like and share it, rate and review it, so that we can help get the word out of hope and healing to all those that need it. Remember, shine bright, and we'll see you in the next episode.